Hey there, CJ Math students, and welcome to the Apire Prep Notes Part 2. So similar setup to the back side, there's front side, where you're going to write down what your point of entry is and then try and solve the problem, kind of like how you would do on an Apire Prep. You think, okay, what's the first thing I can do? And then I'd start writing down, right? So it says Hannah runs 2/3 of a mile in 1/6 of an hour. What is her unit rate? So unit rate, you can write ratios, right? So we have a distance over time. If her distance is equal to 2/3 of a mile, over her time is equal to 1/6 of an hour, right? And then we want to know what is going to be her miles per hour. So her distance is going to be 1 mile, how far can she go in 1 hour, right? And so now we just go ahead and we try and cross multiply and solve this. So 1/6 times x gives us 1/6 x. 2/3 times 1 just gives us 2/3. And now we know how to solve this. We're going to multiply both sides by the reciprocal. So times 6 over 1 times 6 over 1. Those guys cancel out. And you're getting x is equal to 2 times 6, which is 12. 3 times 1, which is 3. 12 over 3, well, that simplifies to 4. So she can go 4 miles in 1 hour, basically. Right? A fish dives to a depth of -3/4 mile below the surface water. The turtle's depth is 1/3 as deep as the fish's depth. So if it's 1/3 as deep, we know the fish is farther down, right? Turtle is only 1/3 of that. So what's the turtle's depth? This is basically asking us what is 1/3 of -3/4. And we know that that's a multiplication problem. So 1/3 times -3/4. Multiply straight across. We could cross cancel if we want to, but don't need to complicate anything right now. That's a DSN, so it stays negative. It gives you 3 over 12, and -3/12 simplifies if you divide them both by 3 to -1/4. So the turtle is at -1/4 miles, which is 1/3 of -3/4. Right? For this equations expressions problem, point of entry, when you see a negative sign like you do here, you need to first go through and say plus and negative, right, to everything. But then when the negative is on the outside of parentheses, you need to distribute that to everything on the inside. So let's take a look at what this will actually look like. So this is 12f plus -8g plus 3h. So nothing there has changed, right? Plus, what is a negative times a positive 4f? That's a negative 4f. So that matters. And then what is a negative times a negative g? That's a positive g, or 1g, right? And then what is a negative times a positive 5h? That's a negative 5h, right? And now we can go through, we can find our like terms. So you can say 12f and -4f. What does that give you? That gives you 8f, right? DSSN plus. And then you could say, all right, what's a -8g plus g? That's plus -7g, right? Because again, DSN. Right, and then what is a 3h plus -5h? Oh, that's plus -2h, right? You can always double check that with the calculator. But there you go. There's your answer. You can't combine any of these because you have nothing but unlike terms here. Like terms, remember, have the same variable and exponent, so those don't have any of the same variables, right? So geometry, it says a cube has a side length of 13 millimeters. What is the surface area of a cube? Now, we know how to find the area of something, right? But for a 3D shape, you'll have to know that a 3D shape, a cube is a 3D shape made up of 8 squares. So there's my cube that I've drawn. Again, you can just draw a cube by drawing a square, drawing another square, and then just connecting everything. So if you need me to show you that, it just looks like this. Draw a square, draw another square, and then just connect everything. All right, there's your cube. So basically what we're going to go ahead and say is, all right, we have one square. Square, it was 13, side length of 13 millimeters, so we know the square looks like this. We know the area formula for a square is just s squared, so that's just going to be 13 times 13, right? So that area for one square is equal to 169, but now a cube is made up of 8 squares, so we just multiply that by 8. And so this has a surface area of 1,352 millimeters squared. Surface area, so we're using units squared. And last one, it says you flip a coin and roll a number cubed. what is the probability that you will flip tails and roll a number less than 5? So probability is all about your desired outcome out of your total outcome. So for the coin, if you want a tail, there's only one possible way to get a tail out of 2 possible outcomes. And for a cube, if you want to roll a number less than 5, well, a cube has numbers 1 through 8 on it. So all the numbers less than 5 are 1, 2, 3, and 4. So you got 4 numbers less than 5. So 4 numbers out of how many total possible numbers? That's 8, right? And so your probability is just then going to be 1/2 times 4/8, which when you multiply straight across, again, you could cross cancel there if you want to. You get 4/16, which when you simplify by dividing by both by 4, you get 1/4. So your probability is 1/4 or 25%, right? That you would flip a tail and get a number on the cube less than 5. Again, anything that you haven't written down that I have, please make sure you do.